Hello. Thanks for stopping by and welcome back to my channel. My name is Felix and today's video will be episode 3 of my Vietnamese Hazbin hotel series. This episode will be about Cherry Bomb and Sir Pentious, and just so you know, they will look nothing like they do in the show, so my earliest apologies to you Snake Sir Pentious fans. Be warned, I'm not gonna be nice. I'll be taking a break from this series for next video as I'll be doing my own take on a swap AU for the V's, so be sure to subscribe with notifications on if you don't want to miss it next weekend. With that out of the way, I hope you enjoy this video. So, Cherry Bomb. What should I say about her? I'm gonna be honest, I do not like this bitch, like, at all. Like, what is she supposed to be? From what I'm seeing here, she's a Cyclops with an identity crisis of a 15-year-old in the 2000s. Seriously, what is going on here? I see ripped clothes, tattoos, cleavage, midriff, and this fuck-ass scene queen wannabe hairstyle. Don't get me wrong. I love the 2000s, I love scene queens, and I love it when women are comfortable enough to wear revealing clothing. But this? Her ass is supposed to be from the 80s! Ugh, reminding myself of this fact just makes me even more disappointed with the people who make edits of her to the song Cherry Bomb by the Runaways and say this song is made for her, even though it's from the fucking 70s! 1976 to be exact, and Cherry Lady by Modern Talking is sitting right there! God fucking... So that's why the background music you're hearing right now is a cover of Cherry Lady in Vietnamese ethnic instruments. It isn't mine and I'll leave a link to it in the description. From what I've seen, there's not much shown of Cherry Bomb. She's Angel Dust's alleged best friend, she sleeps around, yada yada yada, not that important, not that impressive either. For the role of being the Angel Dust's best friend, she sure is boring. What does she do exactly? And I know there's lore of Cherry Bomb floating around somewhere on the internet. Apparently she was initially an angel named Diza, Angel Dust's daughter, and apparently there's this Izzy character who's a father that's also in hell and died because of a suicide bombing with her. I don't know, I'm not gonna look deep into that, cause when all of that is not shown in the actual show. Are you actually a storyteller, Ms. Madrano? Cause boy, you sure do a lot of bullshitting and not any of that showing. And the fact that you decided her to be Australian in the last fucking minute really shows your organization skills. Alright, now back to the reasons why I dislike Cherry. I absolutely hate how she's animated and especially her clothes. We are past the historical inaccuracies now, mind you. I'm talking about this. I cringed so hard at this part in the Addict music video, but I guess that it shows her more obnoxious personality. And this is the problem with her clothes. Like, she's better off just walk around naked. Her clothes look so uncomfortable on her. It works fine when it's in cosplays, but my god, it looks atrocious being animated. Here, there's nothing else to leave to the imagination. She's not sexy anymore. The artist is just flat out flashing the viewers. And yes, you do not have to tell me that my design has less coverage compared to whatever this abomination is. For my version of Cherry Bomb, she's a natural Vietnamese cherry tree since I always hated how Miss Mandrano says, oh, this character is supposed to be this theme, but ending up with little to absolutely no visual cues of that theme whatsoever. This variant of cherry tree is called Cherri locally. It's basically just cherry spoken in a Vietnamese accent, so I'll be referring to my Cherry Bomb as Cherri for this video. This fruit is very rich in vitamin C. I remember eating it throughout my childhood. The green is extremely sour and the good tasting ones are the fully colored reds. But for Cherry, Red fruits can grow to a palm's size and have explosive properties. She's wearing a customized hospital gown. I know it doesn't look similar, but I need you to use your imagination for a sec. She cut it in half, seared it, and put the top part on backwards while the bottom part to the side. The flowers are the cherry tree flowers, but like freeze-dried. She somehow made them into accessories to wear. After sketching her concept, I thought she kinda looked like nifty, but giving her long hair would clog up the readability of her design. Her hair is actual leaves, and they are edible to horse dust. He gives her free haircuts, and she gives him free lunch. After drawing the tree bark texture on her skin, I wanted to shade each of them to communicate better that she's a tree. But it's too tedious to actually do so, and I'll only do that if I plan to make a high-effort Cherry illustration in the future. Now, for the lore. She died in the hospital while in a vegetative state after surviving a bombing of her own organizing. She's still a terrorist attacker, and watch out, things are gonna get political. I'm keeping her death timeline to still be in the 80s, and man, the 70s to 90s in Vietnam was wild. We just got over a civil war, then we had 2 more wars starting right after that. After the events of 30th of April 1975, a huge number of Vietnamese fled the country to immigrate into the USA. A lot of people died along the way, and a lot of people made it into America. Some of Cherri's family members were part of the ones who didn't make it. Her father was a soldier of the Vietnamese Republic, and he got captured as prisoner of war and promptly tortured to death. She was devastated, and it took a huge toll on her. She was studying to become a nurse for the ROV army when the news that Saigon fell reached her. She came home to the sight of her family freaking out, trashing if not selling all of their American furniture, valuables, and possessions. That didn't help them avoid the Viet Cong's attention, however. Their house and farmland got seized along with all the riches they buried underground. She was left with nothing. The Communist Army took her in as a nurse for the 2 succeeding wars, but being too filled with hatred, she went back on her medical principles and purposefully left the wounded to die, excusing as there was too much. It wasn't hard for them to believe her. One day, she successfully acquired their stash of explosives and hid them around the medical campsite. As a wave of injured soldiers get in, she triggered the bombs, igniting the place, killing the wounded, and injuring herself badly. She wanted to die, but her injuries didn't take her out immediately. She was rushed to wherever was the nearest place that can treat her wounds. It was worse than she imagined. Not only did she die, she can't move, but she was still conscious. She felt every incision made to remove the broken shards jabbed into her flesh, but she can't scream. After they're done, they left her on a bed in a room alone. Hours later, her physical wounds barely healed. She's still unable to lift a finger. But then, an alarm came off. The enemy airplanes are approaching. They're about to bomb the area. The hospital was evacuating, but there was too much of the sick and wounded for them to get her out in time. The booming sound of the airship's engine approached, followed by a shadow of something dropping out of its rear. Not long after that, the building collapsed, with Cherri, other remaining patients, and the hospital staff inside. And we are done with Vietnamese Cherry Bomb. Hope you liked that little backstory I came up with. Now let's move on to Sir Pentious. I know, shocker. This is a rabbit. How can this be Pentious? Well, I thought of the same thing when I was done with this concept sketch. I didn't know what I expected, to be honest. This is a rabbit and that is a snake. Of course it doesn't have that essence of Pentious. So to compensate on that, I gave him a savage expression and kept his sharp teeth. I wanted him to look like he bites because he has rabies. Speaking of bites, I am extremely bummed out that they didn't utilize Pentious' snake fangs and make him bite and poison people. Why make him a snake when you don't even bother touching on the most iconic thing of a snake? Well, I guess they kept the cringy S speech thing that only cartoon snakes do. And I don't even get why he's a snake. You could say that there's something poetic about the first sinner being redeemed is a snake. But I don't buy it. I don't think that was a thought out decision, and Ms. Mandrano was only recycling whatever the fuck Santos was. Don't get me wrong, Pentious is adorable. I love his character, and I'm glad that he has a color palette that's not 9,000% red. Though sadly, he's yet another victim of Ms. Mandrano's top hat, bow tie, pinstripe, suit wearing fetish. Though in my version, he's gonna wear áo ngủ thần, which is basically an older, roomier version of what my Alistair wears. I kept Pentious's red eyes and put them all over his body, but only the ones you see that have line art are functional. The rest are only decorations of his áo ngủ thần. Kept his color palette cause like I said before, I do not have any problems with his original color scheme. I added a dusty brown and beige into the mix because that's a fur color combination of one of the various species of rabbits found in Vietnam. That brings us to why he is a rabbit out of any animal else. As you can see from the show, Pentious is quite coy and cowardly. In Vietnamese, we have a saying for that, nhát như thỏ đế. It means as cowardly as a rabbit or hare. We only have one word for both. Thỏ đế technically means day, rabbit, but apparently there's not a lot of sources to determine what the day word means. There's this one source that says it's the species that feeds on grass and lives in caves and burrows in the central region of Vietnam. So I guess we can run with that and say he's from there. And this is the part where I name him. Since Sir Pentious is a play on word for Sir, Stupendous, and Serpent, I think Thỏ đế would be my take as a play on word for Thỏ đế. Some Vietnamese accents mispronounce Thỏ to Thỏ, and that includes accents from the central region. Thỏ means to live long or old age, and đế means king or emperor, so together it makes long living king, as a reference to him being the oldest sinner out of the main cast and his ridiculous pride trying to reach overlord status. As for how he was like before perishing, he was a government official for the Nguyen dynasty in 1800s Vietnam. That explains his fancy clothing with fancy decorations. He most likely wasn't a good politician, however, making shady deals and always going on cruise ships partying with the French. Upon being drunken out of his mind, he foolishly provoked a rabid hare and got bit. When he sobered up, he didn't remember what happened and dismisses the bite wound. He forgot about it until symptoms started showing, and that is when we all know he's long gone. Designing Thỏ đế was a lot of fun to do, and I couldn't be happier with the results. However, all fun left me the moment I had to do the shading. It was so tedious, and even though it didn't take any longer than any drawing progress I made of anyone else, I could only think of how unenjoyable having to do that for the drawing to be able to be presentable. And I think it's worth it. I love how it came out despite its imperfections. If you like this and want to see more, please like and share this video as well as subscribing. It helps motivate me to keep creating a lot. And if you want me to draw you an illustration, please consider commissioning me. You can contact me via Discord or email. Thank you so much for stopping by and staying to the end. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. See you next time.